Uh, it was a different era, Mary. All of us, this was just the end, it was 10, 15 years after World War II. The drafts had been, all the able-bodied men served in the Air Force or in the Army or in the Navy. It was expected of those who were able to serve. Mm-hmm. And so there was never a question about it. Either we had been brainwashed or we were proud or that was just the thing to do. When we were out of high school, we either went into the service, armed services, or we waited until we were through with college, and then we just elected to go into the service. It was expected within ourselves and within society as well. So I decided on the Air Force just because I liked airplanes. I served from 1960 through 1963. I spent 3 years in the Air Force. I was in Greenham, Greenham, Greenham Common, COMON, Air Force Base in Britain, in England. After I spent my time in England, I got out and actually then went into private practice, into veterinary medicine. I had graduated from vet school prior to the time, and when I went into the Air Force, we did U.S. Public Health Services, and then we took care of guard dogs. Well, I was chosen to be on the battle staff. So I was the medical representative to the battle staff at the air base, so that when any important exercises came up, I was with the base commander and all the heads of the departments at the Air Force Base. It was a SAC, Strategic Air Command Base. This was rather interesting in the fact that every year we had a major operation or exercise as if we were actually in a war. It was our preparedness that we did. And we were in that particular exercise when the real red alert came from Washington saying, we were potentially at imminent attack, and we should prepare to take care of our mission, which at that time we were within 10 to 15 minutes of war at all times. Our base was ready to carry out its mission, which was to launch B-47s loaded with A-bombs and with radar capabilities. And we had to be within 15 minutes of war at all times. So when we were in our exercise, we then had to call our command situations in the field to let them know that this was no longer a game or an exercise, but this was the real thing, and that we were on red alert, which meant potentially imminent attack, and for us to be able to deploy our airplanes. Now, again, our life was really different from what it is today. There was not the feeling of ourselves. It was basically working together in what we had to do. And those of us who came from meager backgrounds and from areas of working ethics. Oddly enough, our whole attitude was to carry out the mission and not to worry about what was going to happen to us. And so it was just basically knowing what was going on, getting the messages, knowing how much time we had. We had the pilots in the planes, or within a minute or two of the airplanes, the planes were initially started, and then the engines turned off, but was ready to be turned on any minute. And our whole idea was, could we launch our aircrafts, because there were certainly missiles coming from the U.S., missiles that would be coming from Russia, so that we had, it was all there. And we just went about doing our jobs. I don't think there was much threat. We had been through so many exercises that it's kind of like standing on your head if you've done it a million times. And this one was for a medal, I suppose, but it was just a matter of fact trying to carry out our mission. It was, all the heads of, there were like 7 or 8 of us that were sitting around a round table with charts on the wall and the phones and just waiting for the next bit of information that would do. We had all the men were at their posts at the ready, and we were just waiting for the word, and it didn't come, and we stayed there for 48 hours in the command post. Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, Khrushchev backed down, and that was it. It was between Kennedy and Khrushchev, and the Soviets and us, and it would have been total annihilation of both countries, I think, and many England and many of the places, all of us would have received atomic warheads from Russia, and they, of course, would have been blasted out of existence as well. There have been, a hot uranium area with not very many people about. Certainly not in the major areas of combat that had, the airports and those kinds of things for the war. That would have been just taken out. Base life? Mm-hmm. We had tremendous camaraderie. We had wonderful, intelligent young men. I hope I was included in that. We had dedicated officers, all of us dedicated to what it was that we did. We had a great, it was great. I mean, we were on call 24 hours a day, but as far as any social life, we had friends in the group, and we had friends actually on the economy, as they called it, English friends as well. And when we had time off, etc., we would go to London and go to, Covent Garden Ballet, all the great plays in London. We were 60 miles west of London, and we had that. And when we would be on leave during the summer, we would spend all of our time in Europe and traveling, and just a marvelous time. Everybody loved us. Not as it may be today, where America is sometimes looked upon as belligerent, and we didn't have Iraq and Vietnam and all the stupid wars that we've done. We had just finished World War II, which the United States came in and played a massive role in knocking the German Third Reich out, so that democracy and normal living could be returned. And we were treated like little gods, really. I mean, when we went on the European area, that was only 15 years after World War II, so that everybody just made our life bigger than life. I mean, they loved us. It would be the Cuban crisis. Yeah, that's what really came to point to see whether it was going to turn into a hot war or a cold war, and that was the defining moment of the U.S. and Russia during that time. I was very fortunate. I didn't have any sad memories. Could it have been better? Were there things that we could have done that might have been better? Certainly. But we were very active in doing absolutely everything we could, and without a moment's rest, we just went for a wonderful time, and we had it. I didn't have a sad memory in the Air Force. I did not. I guess you'd have to call me I was gung-ho. I came from nothing, and I just wanted to do the best I could do. And I was awarded an commendation medal for working in food processing. My commander tried to get the Air Force to send me to medical school because I got along really well with everybody because I worked my butt off. You know, if there was anything to do that I should do or do better, I tried hard to get it done, and that's all it took. I think there are those who were involved with what we did, and I think they are very proud and assured of their accomplishment at that time. The general population, we're talking about older people already, and I think they remember and they have a different view of those things than the younger generations do, because the younger generations look upon those war factions and the war potential and possibilities as not being very sensible, and most of us agree with that as well, unless it truly has to be. I mean, provocations and those kinds of things between nations are tough. My personal opinion is we'd be better off taking a couple of the aircraft carriers, making them into massive hospitals, and go around the third world and assist in taking care of the populations rather than bristling and trying to be important with war machines. But we need to have defense, of course. I think we've lost a little bit of that which has to do with helping our neighbors rather than being wonderful and then abusing some of our relationships.